If you are suffering from loss of smell or taste or both, and you would like a very simple way of restoring it that doesn't cost you any money, you clicked on the right video. Hi, I'm Dr. Cori Stern, and this is my channel, Take Control of Your Health. If this is your first time watching, welcome. And if you're a return viewer, thank you so much for your support. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't had a chance to do that. And please, if you like this video, hit the like button so more people can find it. And most importantly, don't forget to share it with anybody you know that you think would benefit from this information. Make sure you watch till the end when our very special guest who created this technique is going to actually demonstrate it. So I am very honored to have Dr. Chezyn Ross on my show. He's a very, very busy doctor. So it is so really amazing that he's taking the time out to talk to us today. So Dr. Chezyn, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me on, and always a pleasure to be able to talk to more people about what's going on out there. My name is Dr. Chezyn Ross. I am a chiropractor in Tempe, Arizona. I've been in practice for 30 years. And this process that we're going to be talking about is something that has ended up morphing out of the technique that I created a few years ago called Allergy clearing technique. But the principles is what we were able to convert and have applied to what we're talking about today. I'm always very clear in my stuff because the Arizona board is very cautious with me that this is not a chiropractic technique. We're not showing you something how to adjust anyone, but it's a very simple at-home process that people can do on themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I can testify to that because I did do it on myself. And I've done it on quite a number of patients and taught them how to do it as well. And we get amazing results. So it seems, interesting and strange to some people, and they wonder, what it is that caused a loss of smell to begin with. Do you have any insight on that?
That is the hardest part with this. Very honestly, there are so many varieties of things that can cause people to lose their taste and smell with this COVID stuff. And there's some theories out there and all that kind of stuff. What I talk about is there can be this process where the body basically shuts down registering the olfactory nerve and the taste buds. This is one of the things that we have seen that can help people. I wish it helped everyone. It doesn't, unfortunately. As we know, not everything is perfect, but the process has been very effective in helping people restore their taste and smell.
Have you tried it on people that have had a loss of smell for other reasons? I have patients that have not been able to smell for many years.
Yeah, I have. I've had a couple of people have had head injuries, and we have applied this and had some pretty good success with it as well. I know the stress isn't just from the COVID infection that a lot of people are experiencing this from, because it's a very common thing after the COVID infection to have this loss of taste and smell, and even turning into parosmia as well, which is something maybe we can talk about a little bit later as well.
Okay, do you want to give us a definition of parosmia?
Sure. Generally, the overarching view that most people know, when they lose their taste and smell, they call that anosmia. And people just literally can't taste anything, or they can get little hints of things. Parosmia, and what we've seen, I've been following a group on Facebook for over a year now, and a very common thing happens. People regain their taste and smell, and then about 2 to 3 months later, things taste bad, horrible, awful, rotting flesh smell. People vomit the smell of their spouses. Common things, meat, tomatoes, onion, garlic will just be horrifically offensive. Coffee is another one. And so parosmia is kind of this, again, overarching umbrella definition of when things actually taste bad, as opposed to anosmia, where there is a loss of taste and smell.
I've had quite a number of patients, and honestly, it happened to me as well, report a strange, once the smell was restored, a strange odor all the time. I was actually smelling poop for a few weeks. And the first time it happened, I was in the car with my son, and I asked him to check his shoes. And then, once we cleared that and it wasn't his shoes, I went to work and I was seeing patients, and every single patient that I came in contact with, I was like, took me a while to realize that, what was going on, but yes.
Yeah, parosmia is something that very, very sadly, most, even within the medical profession, really doesn't know much about. The anosmia is frustrating, but at least people can at least eat through it. They may not taste anything, but at least they can eat. Many times if it's turned into the parosmia side, literally, I had a gentleman come into my office, had lost over 70 pounds because he literally just could not eat anything.
Wow.
But yeah, the poop smell is one of those that people talk about a lot. There's also ultimately they call it the COVID smell is what it's been labeled, that literally they just can't describe what this awfulness is.
Yeah.
And we have just recently, and hopefully we can put a link on that below when we're done with this. I have just recently published a new video that goes into the parosmia side as well, and gives some people some additional information on parosmia. People that are experiencing it, people think they are nuts. So I have shot an additional video just as an explanation to say, these people aren't losing their minds. This is very real, very serious. So that is, and it's less than a week old. I just shot it a few days ago.
Great. What great timing. Okay, we'll definitely remember to put a link to that, as well as to your website, which is called COVIDtasteandsmellrecovery.com. So we'll put links to that for everyone. Yeah. So I did also have that experience of COVID smell. This is the first time I'm hearing anyone talk about it. I didn't discuss it with anyone, but I kept telling myself, I can smell the COVID. So, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. And I've had other patients describe smelling cigarette smoke or cigarette ash smell for a while.
There was one of the people that was on the Facebook group I follow. She actually had woke up in the middle of the night and called the fire department because her house was on fire. And so they came and they went through the whole house and they said, there's no fire. And she goes, no, I can smell it. And it was choking her and she could hardly breathe. And it was literally just this phantom, they'll label it phantasmia, but she literally was smelling this choking, burning smell, and there was nothing in there.
So this is, it seems to me, based on my observation of my own patients, and tell me if you agree, it seems to me that it's like a neurological issue, right?
It really is. There is the common thing that's said though, and I do very personally have a little bit of a disagreement with it. They'll say there's nerve damage. The problem with nerve damage, it really does. If it is truly nerve damage, it takes time to regenerate. But with this process, as I'm sure you've seen in your office, I've seen in my office, at times people have an immediate, instantaneous restoration.
Yeah.
Now, not everyone does, but some people do.
Yeah.
And if it is truly nerve damage, that wouldn't happen. And so I really feel that there is it's a neurologic processing issue as opposed to a damage issue.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I had a patient who fell on her face when she was 6 years old and lost her sense of smell. And now I'm seeing her in her 40s. And from a nutritional perspective, I actually got her on some nerve tissue support, and her sense of smell came back rather quickly. I mean, to my surprise, I expected it to take a while. So that's an example of how you can actually have nerve damage, and it's a mechanical injury. This is something a little bit different. So we see, and I don't know if they're related, but we see patients post these viral infections having brain fog, very often having brain fog. And I'm just wondering about, the relationship. It seems like that's also a neurologic processing issue. So I don't know if you practice nutrition at all, but one of the things that I've been having success with in terms of treating it nutritionally is using nattokinase. So nattokinase is enzymes that actually help to dissolve clots. So the theory behind it is that the spike proteins cause some clotting, and the nattokinase helps to dissolve them. And it seems like it assists with restoring, at least with helping to handle brain fog. That's one of the things that I've had success with. I had the brain fog, and the minute I took the nattokinase, literally like within minutes, the brain fog was gone.
No, that makes sense. In my office, I have seen a tremendous amount of nutritional deficiencies after the infection. One of the big ones I see, though, and there is, maybe we can do another video at another time about this, but some really strong indicators towards what is going on with the infection and damage to the red blood cells. I do think there's some interesting findings that need to be investigated, whether or not it's causing kind of massive red cell destruction. I do think there's some reason why that is, why people end up having a very hard time moving oxygen, where suddenly they're fine, and all of a sudden their O2 sats drop very significantly. And I've also seen, and I don't know how much you have seen yourself, but a ton of iron deficiency. And many times with the iron deficiencies during the recovery period afterwards, also related to the brain fog as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. So most people don't think of iron as having anything to do with the immune system, but it actually does. So it's one of the minerals that the immune system requires. So in theory, if you have an infectious process going on in the body, you need more nutrients. You need, for example, minerals that support the body's ability to fight off the invading pathogen. So iron is one of them, and zinc is another one, right? So
Sure.
Zinc stops the replication of viruses, and you need more zinc when you're sick with a virus or, really anything. And it's one of the reasons why I have believed that people with diabetes get sicker, because the pancreas needs zinc to produce insulin. It's kind of not exactly how it works, but the pancreas requires the presence of zinc to produce insulin. So if you're diabetic, you probably are already zinc deficient. And then if you get sick, you need even more zinc. And zinc has a lot to do with your sense of smell too, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
Yeah.
It does indeed. And that is one of the other big deficiencies you'll see as well, that people need to be very cautious on, and have a practitioner like yourself that can check on those levels and make sure that those are appropriate levels post-infection as well.
Yes, I was taking zinc all along, and I was a little shocked when I lost my sense of smell, because I was like,
That should be
right. I thought I was good. But just getting back to your red blood cell loss of oxygen theory, one of the things that I've seen is after people are no longer, let's say, actively feeling sick, but they seem to have no energy, they're really struggling. I see this a lot. They're just struggling even to walk sometimes, or they're having shortness of breath, even though they're not having necessarily mucus or lung issues. It's coming from their heart. It has to do with oxygenation. And I use a supplement it's a form of vitamin E. Are you familiar with the Standard Process supplement company? That's mostly the supplements that I use, and talk about them.
Whole food based
Whole
supplements.
food, right? Whole food. They have a supplement called Cataplex. The word Cataplex is like they use that instead of the word vitamin. Cataplex E2. So it's a fraction of the vitamin E molecule that is an oxygen carrier. This has been a game changer for so many people. if somebody comes to me and says, oh, I was sick and now I have no energy, I'm just like, all right, take some of the Cataplex E2, and then they're all better, like literally, like usually within a couple of days. So that's something that is available on my website. I can put a link to it. Let me just write this down so I don't forget, in the description of the video, in case anybody feels that they need it. You could just order it. It's not expensive.
It's a great product.
Yeah. I mean, that is my one of my go-tos. I've been taking it myself for years because my dad passed away of a heart attack when he was 47. So I've been very protective of my heart. I'll be 59 in a few weeks. So my goal was to live as long as I can. And, you know, genetically speaking, I was dealt a pretty bad hand. So doing what I can to protect myself, and Cataplex E2 has been one of my, I guess, partners in health along the way. So you had mentioned that the technique that we're going to demonstrate in a little bit came out of something else that you created having to do with clearing allergies. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit more about that also? Because I know a lot of people suffer from allergies.
Sure, I can touch on that. My daughter personally dealt with a tremendous amount of food allergies. We literally had 2 restaurants we could eat at, and in college we actually ended up getting a doctor's note to get her out of the food plan that the college required, because there was literally nothing on the college campus my daughter could eat. Went about a process and putting together hopefully a simple and teachable process, and created what is now called allergy clearing technique. This is fairly new. I've only been around about 6-7 years with that technique. It is something I put together, but we do have a training manual. We have training videos. It's a very teachable process. We charge $850 for someone to get trained for the entire process. I would love to have people around the world learning how to do this, because there is a tremendous amount of people that are dealing with both food and environmental allergies. And this is a process. Again, it's not 100% for everyone, but it's a very inexpensive way for people to approach that, get a lot of things cleared out. And we've had very, very good success with the technique.
Do you train just anyone, or do they have to be a practitioner like us, like chiropractor, or have some kind of license?
Sure, preferably a licensed practitioner. A layperson. I've had several people that have purchased it from me so that they could just work on their own family. They had, you know, a husband and wife and their kids, and they had a couple, you know, brothers, and they didn't want to go see anyone else, but it was cheaper for them to actually buy the process than for them to, you know, go and see a practitioner. And so they chose to do that. I tell folks, though, you have to be licensed. You want to make sure that you can legally touch people, that it's within a scope of practice. So preferably a professional, but I have, like I said, if someone is not going to work on the general public that's not licensed, but if they wanted to do it for their own family, that would be something I would absolutely consider.
That's fantastic. So anybody watching this, if you're interested, Dr. Kevin's link will be on the description. You can check it out if you want to learn it for yourself and just use it for your family. I have patients that do that as well. Or if you go to a practitioner right now, if you're seeing, you know, a chiropractor or holistic practitioner that might be interested in learning it, I do a similar technique. I'm not fully familiar with yours, but I bet you there are some similarities. And I can say that allergy clearing is fabulous. It really can be a game changer for many people. And we do it on people of all ages. I have little kids that we do it with, and eventually they kind of learn, you know, all the steps and start trying to do it on themselves, which is so cute to watch. Yeah, I have to take videos of that because, yeah, it cracks me up. So I'm just going to take a very brief break to tell everybody about my truth partner. It's called HATS, which stands for Hardcore Awakened Truth Seekers. And this movement was inspired into creation amidst hyper political division in the past few years to get away from polarization and to bring people together across the political spectrum to the truth and a sense of community that allows us to move forward. And this movement is making real strides in achieving this vision. They have an amazing Telegram channel. If you're on Telegram, the link will be in the description. You should check them out. They have a huge following and they post really great information. They also have a website where they sell cool products such as the hoodie I'm wearing. So I love their hoodies. I have a collection. They also have t-shirts. I have my hats, mug. I needed a sip of water anyway. So there you go. So please check them out and support them because they're a really wonderful movement. All right, so are we ready to show everybody how to restore either their own sense of smell or help their spouse or their kids or their friends with it?
I hope so.
All right, let's do it.
Alrighty. So some very basic principles behind this. What I use a lot of analogies with people. It helps you guys kind of wrap your brain around what we're talking about or why things can occur. So essentially, the best way I describe what I see is going on with this is with the infection, it creates a stress. That stress causes the body to shut down and essentially be like having a plane in the sky, but there's no blip on the radar showing up. So it's in the sky, but there's no registration of it. Essentially, the way I describe it, it's like the mirror image of phantom limb pain. If you're familiar with that, someone can have an arm amputated, and after it's amputated, they can actually still feel the arm, even though it's not there neurologically. This is the mirror image of that, where something's there and it doesn't register. And so what we're hoping to do with this really simple process is just try to reboot it, almost like your computer's froze up, restart it, get it to reboot, and get back to doing what it's supposed to do. And so there's a couple steps. The first two are on the videos, Dr. Cori, that you're familiar with. The other two are very fresh. That'll be in that video that we talked about that I just shot. But what we're talking about, I have my little friend here, is inside our skull, right behind where the nasal bone is here on the inside. If you can see that little white triangle bone, that is where our olfactory nerve sits. That's right on that little guy right there. And so what we're going to have someone do is they're going to put a hand on a heart. They're going to put another finger pointing in to where that olfactory nerve sits. So it looks like this. They put a hand on the heart. They will point in, and this is not a pressure. It's not pushing in, but it's a directional, pointing in towards the brain where that olfactory nerve is. And then you simply have someone give you a little flick on the back of the head. And it's anywhere on the back of the head. It doesn't, and it's not strong. You don't have to get a snow shovel out and smack someone, into the next room. It's just a gentle little flick. The other way that you can do this, because what we're just trying to do is get some input into the nervous system, is they can just very simply along the hairline, some gentle taps right along kind of the part line that would be from the front to the back, and just taps as you move from the front to the back. And again, just to put a little input into the nervous system. So that's one part. The second part is the taste buds. So some people will just lose everything, but some people can actually, sometimes they'll like taste a little bit of sweet, a little bit of salt, those types of things. But you only get the taste buds. So all you do, stick your tongue out, touch the tongue, have the other hand on the heart. And again, a little flick on the back of the head. Now, this is a two-person process. It is the best way to go about it is to have you touch both things and have a second person either flick you or tap you on the head. People say, but wait, I live by myself. I don't have anyone to flick me. You can try this with just pointing in and either tapping on the head or tapping on the back of your head to try to get that input. I think it's more successful, almost like creating a circuitry if the hand is on the heart and also pointing, like you're creating a circuit through that. But if you are by yourself, you can at least try by yourself. Now, people with parosmia, where they've gone into the pore, the bad taste and smell, the two additional things that we have located with that is this little white triangle bone is called the cribriform plate. That one will also stop registering, as will the little tissues that are inside the nostrils. So essentially how we smell, we turn it this way, particles come into our nose, they hit little fibers inside those tissues, they go up through that bone to the olfactory nerve and to your brain. That's how we smell. So if any of these four pieces aren't properly neurologically registering, it can be off. So these other two parts, this is where it gets hard. Follow me along. Ready? Here we go. A little bit of quantum physics is involved. In quantum physics, we know that whatever the person focuses on is oftentimes what they'll see. So as a brief example, if someone is trying to study the properties of the packets of light, that's what they see, or photons. If they're looking for waves, that's what they see. In this case, there's one contact point, but two separate things we're looking for. And all you have to do in your brain is to be able to separate this little white bone that's up in the skull from the tissues that are inside your nose. What you're going to do, this is the other two parts. A hand goes on the heart, and this is where it gets a little bit weird. One finger inside each nostril, pointing up towards that bone that's in your skull. Close your eyes, visualize that little white triangle bone I showed you, and then at that point, have someone flick you on your head. Again, if you're by yourself, fingers in the nostrils, and then tap yourself. But if you can have someone else, that's helpful. Then the second part of that, hand on the heart, fingers in the nostrils, but you have to change your brain and just visualize the soft tissues in your nose. Same thing, a little flick. So there's 4 pieces: olfactory nerve, taste buds, the cribriform plate, and the little sinus mucous membranes. Those are the 4 pieces that we're trying to get neurologically working. Put the input in, see how you do. Some people, Dr. Cori, will see it immediate. I have people walk out of my office and go, "Oh my gosh, I can smell the orange blossoms."
Yep.
And it's immediate, obvious. It's crazy how fast it can happen.
Yep.
For some people, it will happen. And what I tell people to do with this, once or twice a day, do this process. And so for some people, over a couple days, they'll notice it just ramps back up. And for some people, it'll come back and then it drops off, and then it comes back and it drops off. But if they will do these pieces at home, they can keep an eye on that. And if this is why, this little reboot shut off process, if this is why they've lost their taste and smell, it'll come back.
Yeah, we actually keep an open bottle of essential oil, and we have people smell it before and after. And just to watch their face, I should have had a video camera going. Wow, I can smell that. I don't know if I did the wrong thing, but when I first started doing it on myself, the first time I learned about it, I was alone, and I was like, I wanted to do it right away. So I actually, instead of having somebody flick the back of my head, I banged it against the wall.
A little bit of tap, yes.
But it seemed to help. And then, like you said, I had a little, ebb and flow. So I lost my smell again. It came back right away. I lost it, did the technique again, it came right back. I had to do it maybe 3 times over a few days.
Yes.
But yeah, so yeah,
And
this amazing.
at that point, many times people will stabilize after that, and then it's better.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. And I'm so grateful that I found you. A friend of mine messaged me your video, and then after that, I started telling people about it, and I had a few people say, "Oh yeah, I know about that. I did it." And I'm like, "Well, why didn't you tell me?"
Tell me, share with me.
Right, exactly. All right, great. So I want to thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule. If anybody is local to Dr. Kevin's area in Tempe, Arizona, you can try to get an appointment with him. I've heard rumor that it's a little bit difficult. He kind of has a waiting list at this point, which makes me feel even more honored that you took the time out today for me. So if you want, we'll invite you back again. I'm sure there's more things that we can think of to talk about.
Oh, we can. How about people losing their hair after infection? We can talk about that in another video.
Yes, yes, definitely. That's going to be a big one. Now that you said that, people are going to demand it. And it happened to me too. So I've gotten it back pretty much, I think. Not bad. But yeah,
I have a little trick for that one too.
Okay, we're definitely going to talk again. All right, thank you so much. And thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe. That's the thing that makes me the most happy, when I see that I'm getting more people and getting the word out and getting more people the help that they need. Please hit like if you like this. I'm sure you did. And then last but not least, be sure to share this with anyone you know that you think will help. and we'll see you all again soon.